You are living inside the greatest paradox of human existence. Right now, in this moment, as chaos swirls around you and uncertainty feels like the only certainty you have left, you've been told to figure it out, to control it, to fix what feels broken. But here's what no one tells you. Everything happening right now, every challenge, every disruption, every moment that feels like it's falling apart, is not random. It's not punishment. It's not evidence that you're doing something wrong. It's intelligence. It's design. It's the universe reorganizing itself around the frequency of who you're becoming. Most people spend their entire lives fighting reality, pushing against what is, desperate to return to what was, or leap ahead to what might be. They miss the profound truth hidden in plain sight. You are safe, even when nothing feels safe. Reality is unfolding exactly as planned, even when it feels like pure chaos. And the reason most people never discover this isn't because they lack intelligence or spiritual awareness. It's because they've been trained to see disruption as deviation instead of recognizing it as direction. Let that sink in for a moment. What if everything you've labeled as wrong, as off track, as evidence that life isn't working? What if all of it is actually the universe's way of moving you toward the exact frequency, the exact timeline, the exact version of yourself that you came here to embody? This isn't wishful thinking or spiritual bypassing. This is quantum mechanics meeting consciousness. This is how reality actually works when you understand that you're not separate from the field of intelligence that governs all existence. You are that field, experiencing itself as you. But here's where it gets interesting. The moment you begin to see disruption as direction, something profound shifts in your nervous system. Your body stops producing the stress chemicals that keep you locked in survival mode. Your brain waves shift from the chaotic beta patterns of anxiety and resistance into the coherent alpha and theta frequencies where insight, creativity, and quantum possibilities become accessible. You literally begin to vibrate at the frequency of trust instead of trauma. And when you vibrate at the frequency of trust, you start to see the intelligence that was always there, orchestrating everything with a precision so elegant, so perfectly timed, that it takes your breath away. Think about the last time something fell apart in your life. A relationship, a job, a plan you were certain would work. In that moment of disruption, what you experienced was chaos. But if you look back now with enough distance, can you see how that apparent ending was actually a beginning? How that loss created space for something better to emerge? How that disruption redirected you toward a path that you never would have chosen, but that led you exactly where you needed to be? That wasn't coincidence. That was the field of infinite intelligence. Call it the universe. Call it consciousness. Call it the quantum field. That was responding to the frequency of your deeper truth. The version of yourself that you were ready to become but couldn't access while clinging to what you thought you needed to stay the same. This is the part that most people miss. Reality isn't happening to you. Reality is happening through you. You are not a victim of circumstances. You are the field of consciousness through which circumstances arise to serve your highest evolution. Every challenge, every disruption, every moment of uncertainty is the universe's way of helping you shed the layers of conditioning, fear, and limitation that were keeping you small. But here's the paradox. You can only see this intelligence when you stop trying to control it. You can only experience the safety of this unfolding when you stop demanding that it look the way you think it should look. You can only align with the perfection of this process when you surrender to the possibility that your limited human perspective cannot possibly comprehend the vast orchestration that's actually taking place. Let me explain what's really happening right now, beneath the surface of whatever chaos you're experiencing. Your consciousness is undergoing a fundamental recalibration. The frequency that you've been operating from, the beliefs, patterns, and ways of being that got you to this point, those frequencies are being disrupted because they're no longer aligned with who you're becoming. The universe isn't punishing you for having those old patterns. It's simply upgrading your operating system, and that upgrade requires dismantling the structures that can't hold the new frequency. This process is not comfortable. It's not supposed to be. Comfort keeps you in patterns that are familiar but limiting. Disruption forces you to discover capacities, wisdom, and strength that you never knew you had. Every time reality asks you to let go of something you thought you needed, it's actually revealing something you didn't know you possessed. Think of it this way. Imagine you're a butterfly in the process of emerging from a chrysalis. From inside that chrysalis, the dissolution feels like death. The caterpillar's entire reality is literally breaking down at the cellular level. If that caterpillar could think, it would believe that something terrible was happening. It would resist the process, try to hold on to its caterpillar identity, panic at the loss of everything familiar. But what's actually happening is metamorphosis. The apparent destruction is actually creation at its most profound level. The caterpillar isn't dying. It's being reorganized into something so much more magnificent than it could have ever imagined from its limited caterpillar perspective. You are in metamorphosis right now. The disruption you're experiencing isn't evidence that something's wrong. It's evidence that something is finally going right. The universe is supporting your transformation by dissolving the structures that were keeping you trapped in a smaller version of yourself. But here's what changes everything. The moment you align with this process instead of resisting it, you begin to experience what the mystics have always known, that beneath the apparent chaos of transformation lies an intelligence so vast, so benevolent, so precisely orchestrated that it can only be described as love in action. When you stop fighting what is and start trusting what's becoming, you discover that you've never been unsafe. You've never been alone. You've never been abandoned by the universe. You've been held, guided, and supported every step of the way by a field of consciousness that knows you better than you know yourself and loves you more than you've ever learned to love yourself. This isn't abstract philosophy. This is practical quantum physics. In quantum mechanics, we know that the observer affects the observed. Your consciousness, your attention, your beliefs, your emotional state literally influences the reality you experience. When you observe your current circumstances through the lens of trust, through the understanding that everything is unfolding for your highest good, you collapse the wave function of infinite possibilities into the timeline where that truth becomes experientially real. But when you observe your circumstances through fear, through the belief that something's gone wrong, that you're not safe, that the universe is chaotic and random, you collapse those same infinite possibilities into a timeline where that fear becomes your lived reality. The universe isn't doing something to you. It's responding to the frequency you're broadcasting. And right now, in this moment of apparent chaos, you have the opportunity to broadcast a frequency that most humans never discover. The frequency of trust in the midst of uncertainty, faith in the midst of apparent disorder, love in the midst of what looks like loss. This is where the real transformation happens. Not when everything's perfect and under control, but when everything's uncertain and you choose to trust anyway. Not when you can see the plan, but when you can't see the plan and you surrender to the possibility that there's an intelligence at work that's so much vaster than your human mind could ever comprehend. Let me share something that might shift everything for you. There's a concept in quantum field theory called spontaneous coherence. It describes how seemingly random particles suddenly organize themselves into coherent patterns without any external force directing them. They align with an underlying field of intelligence that creates order from apparent chaos. This is what's happening in your life right now. The apparent randomness, the disruption, the uncertainty, all of it is spontaneously organizing itself into a coherence that serves your highest evolution. You can't see the pattern yet because you're too close to it, like trying to see a tapestry when you're standing an inch away from one thread. But there is a pattern. There is intelligence. There is perfect timing. And here's the most profound part. The moment you begin to trust this process, the moment you align with the intelligence that's orchestrating your transformation instead of fighting it, that's when miracles begin to happen. Synchronicities multiply, doors open, people appear, opportunities emerge, solutions arise. Not because the universe suddenly decides to help you, but because you finally stop blocking the help that was always there. Pause and breathe into that. Feel it in your body. You are not separate from the intelligence that moves the planets, that orchestrates the seasons, that grows flowers from seeds and turns caterpillars into butterflies. You are that intelligence, expressing itself as the unique configuration of consciousness that is you. So when chaos appears in your life, when disruption feels overwhelming, when nothing makes sense from your limited perspective, that's not evidence that you're off track. That's evidence that you're being reorganized by a love so intelligent, so precisely calibrated to your highest good, that it can afford to disrupt your comfort zones because it knows something you don't know yet. Who you're becoming is so much more magnificent than who you've been. This is why you're safe, even when nothing feels safe. This is why reality is unfolding as planned, even when it looks like pure chaos. The plan isn't your plan. It's a plan so vast, so intelligent, so perfectly orchestrated that your human mind could never have conceived it. But your heart knows. Your soul recognizes it. Your deepest wisdom remembers that you chose this. You chose this life, this timing, this exact configuration of challenges and opportunities, because it was the perfect curriculum for your consciousness to remember what it really is. Now here's what I want you to do. Take a moment and comment below with this phrase. I trust the intelligence that's reorganizing my reality. Don't just type it casually. Feel it as you write it. Let it be an energetic declaration to the quantum field, a conscious interruption in the loop of fear and resistance that keeps so many people trapped in suffering. When you declare your trust in the midst of uncertainty, you signal to the universe that you're ready to collaborate with its intelligence instead of fighting it. This isn't just a comment, it's an activation. It's your conscious choice to align with the frequency of trust, to step into the understanding that everything happening right now is serving your highest evolution, even when you can't see how. Because here's what happens when enough people begin to embody this truth. We create a field of coherence that makes it easier for everyone to access this understanding. Your individual transformation contributes to the collective awakening that's happening on this planet right now. The more people who recognize the intelligence behind apparent chaos, the more the world reflects that intelligence back to all of us. But let's go deeper. There's another layer to this that most people never discover because they stop at the surface level of positive thinking or spiritual platitudes. What we're really talking about here is the recognition that you are not who you thought you were. The version of yourself that's being disrupted, the identity that's feeling threatened by all this change, that's not your true self. That's a collection of beliefs, patterns, and protective strategies that you developed to navigate a world that felt unsafe, unpredictable, and separate from your true nature. Your true self, the consciousness that is aware of thoughts but is not the thoughts, that witnesses emotions but is not the emotions, that observes experiences but is not limited by any single experience, that self is not only safe, it's invulnerable. It can't be threatened by any external circumstances because it exists as the field of awareness itself. When disruption happens in your life, it's not happening to your true self. It's happening to the false identities, the limiting beliefs, the protective patterns that were covering up your true self. The universe isn't trying to destroy you, it's trying to reveal you. It's dissolving everything that's not you so that what is you can finally emerge and be expressed. This is why resistance to change feels so painful. You're not just resisting the loss of external circumstances. You're resisting the death of illusions that you mistook for your identity. You're grieving the loss of limitations that felt like safety because they were familiar. But here's the miracle. On the other side of that resistance, on the other side of that letting go, you discover that you are so much vaster, so much more resilient, so much more creative and intelligent and loving than any of those small identities ever allowed you to experience. The disruption you're experiencing right now is actually an invitation to discover who you really are beneath all the stories, all the fears, all the patterns that kept you playing small. It's an invitation to step into your true power. Not power over others or over circumstances, but the power that comes from knowing yourself as the consciousness through which all experiences arise. This is practical mysticism. This is science meeting spirit. This is the recognition that you are not separate from the intelligence that governs all existence. You are that intelligence, experiencing itself through the unique lens of your individual awareness. And when you begin to live from that recognition, when you begin to trust the process of your own transformation instead of fighting it, that's when you discover what the great masters have always known. You are already whole. You are already complete. You are already perfect exactly as you are. And you are also in a constant state of becoming something even more magnificent. The chaos in your life right now? It's not chaos. It's intelligence. It's love. It's the universe's way of helping you shed everything that was keeping you small, so that the vastness of who you really are can finally be expressed through your human experience. And here's something that will completely shift your understanding of what's happening right now. The intensity of what you're experiencing isn't proportional to how off track you are. It's proportional to how significant your mission is. The souls who came here to contribute the most to this planetary awakening, who volunteered to anchor the highest frequencies of consciousness into this dimension, are often the ones experiencing the most intense transformation processes. This is because higher frequencies require more sophisticated processing systems. If you're here to embody and transmit very high levels of consciousness, your entire human system, your nervous system, your emotional body, your mental patterns, your energy field, All of it needs to be recalibrated to handle those frequencies without burning out or becoming distorted. Think of it like upgrading electrical wiring in a house. If you want to run more powerful appliances, you need wiring that can handle higher voltage. The old wiring that worked fine for basic needs becomes inadequate and potentially dangerous when you try to run more sophisticated equipment through it. Your consciousness is being rewired right now to handle frequencies of love, wisdom, creativity, and power that would have overwhelmed your old operating system. The disruption you're experiencing is the rewiring process. It's not comfortable, but it's absolutely necessary if you're going to fulfill the purpose you came here to fulfill. And here's what most people don't realize. This rewiring isn't just happening at the individual level. Collective consciousness itself is being upgraded. The old paradigm of human civilization, based on separation, competition, domination, and exploitation, is becoming uninhabitable for souls who have evolved beyond those frequencies. This is why so many systems seem to be breaking down simultaneously right now. It's not because something's gone wrong with the world. It's because consciousness is evolving beyond the structures that could only exist in the old paradigm. The breakdown is actually a breakthrough. The collapse is actually an emergence. You are living through the most extraordinary time in human history. The transition between two completely different levels of civilization. And the intensity of your personal transformation is directly related to your role in anchoring the new paradigm into physical reality. This is why you can't approach your current circumstances with the old mindset of problem-solving and control. You're not dealing with problems to be solved. You're dealing with evolution to be embraced. You're not managing a crisis. You're midwifing a birth. And birth is intense. Birth is disorienting. Birth involves letting go of the safe, contained environment you've been growing in and trusting that there's something magnificent waiting on the other side of that letting go. The womb of your old identity, your old reality, your old way of being in the world. It's become too small for who you're becoming. Staying in it would mean stunting your growth, limiting your potential, betraying the very intelligence that's trying to expand through you. Now, what I'm sharing with you today barely scratches the surface of how consciousness actually operates as a broadcasting system, how you're constantly transmitting frequencies that the quantum field receives and reflects back as your reality. If you're feeling called to understand the complete framework behind becoming a conscious broadcaster, rather than an unconscious transmitter trapped in what I call survival static, I've written an entire guide called Beyond the Frequencies, a quantum guide to consciousness mastery that takes you through the 9 master frequencies and the step-by-step practices for moving from seeking to being, from manifestation to embodiment. It's linked in the pinned comment below. So the universe, in its infinite compassion, is creating circumstances that make staying small impossible. It's loving you too much to let you remain trapped in limitations that no longer serve your highest good or the highest good of all existence. This is the ultimate context for understanding everything that's happening in your life right now. You're not being punished, tested, or abandoned. You're being loved so completely, so intelligently, so powerfully, that the universe is willing to disrupt your comfort zones, because it knows that your comfort zones have become your cage. The love that's orchestrating your transformation is not sentimental human love. It's cosmic love, evolutionary love, the kind of love that created stars and galaxies and the intricate intelligence of DNA and the miracle of consciousness itself. This love knows you better than you know yourself, and it will never give up on helping you become the fullest expression of your divine potential. But here's the beautiful paradox. The moment you align with this love, the moment you trust this process, the moment you surrender to this intelligence instead of fighting it, the transformation becomes not just bearable but magical. The pressure becomes pleasurable. The uncertainty becomes exciting. The letting go becomes liberation. When you stop resisting the current and start swimming with it, you discover that the river of transformation isn't trying to drown you. It's trying to carry you to destinations more beautiful than anything you could have imagined from where you started. This shift in perspective, from victim of circumstances to collaborator with evolution, is the key that unlocks everything. It's the difference between suffering through transformation and dancing with it. It's the difference between being broken down by pressure and being refined by it. It's the difference between feeling abandoned by the universe and feeling held by it. And the most beautiful part is that this shift in perspective is always available to you, right now, regardless of what's happening in your external circumstances. You don't have to wait for things to get easier to access this understanding. You don't have to wait for clarity to trust the process. You don't have to wait for evidence to know that you're safe. The evidence is already here, in the fact that you're conscious, that you're aware, that you're capable of questioning your circumstances and seeking deeper understanding. The evidence is in the intelligence that's beating your heart, breathing your lungs, growing your hair, healing your cuts, and dreaming your dreams without any conscious effort from you. You are already being held by an intelligence so vast, so sophisticated, so perfectly orchestrated that it can coordinate the movement of trillions of cells in your body while simultaneously orchestrating the dance of planets and stars and galaxies across the cosmos. This intelligence is not separate from you. It is you, expressing itself as the temporary focal point of awareness that you call your individual identity. When you recognize this, when you feel this, when you embody this understanding, then every challenge becomes an opportunity. Every disruption becomes guidance. Every moment of uncertainty becomes a portal into deeper trust and greater wisdom. This is the level of consciousness that's trying to emerge through your human experience. This is the frequency that's calling you forward through the apparent chaos of your current circumstances. This is the truth that's using every challenging situation to help you remember who you really are beneath all the stories of limitation and separation. Now let me share with you something that will completely revolutionize how you understand the mechanics of reality creation and why your current circumstances are not just perfect. They're precisely calibrated to your soul's highest evolutionary trajectory. There's a phenomenon in quantum physics called quantum entanglement, where two particles become so connected that changing the state of one instantly affects the other, regardless of the distance between them. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance because it seemed to violate everything we thought we knew about how reality works. But what quantum entanglement reveals is that at the deepest level of existence, everything is connected through an invisible field of intelligence that transcends space and time. And this field isn't just connecting particles. It's connecting every aspect of your experience, every person in your life, every circumstance you encounter, every opportunity that appears, and every door that closes. Your current reality is not a collection of random events happening to an isolated individual. Your current reality is a holographic projection of your consciousness, where every element is quantum entangled with every other element, all of it orchestrated by the field of infinite intelligence to create the perfect curriculum for your awakening. This means that the person who challenged you at work isn't separate from your journey. They're quantum entangled with your growth process, showing up at exactly the right moment to trigger the exact healing you need. The relationship that ended isn't disconnected from your evolution. It's quantum entangled with your expansion, creating the precise space needed for a new level of love to emerge. The opportunity that disappeared isn't evidence of bad luck. It's quantum entangled with your transformation, redirecting you toward possibilities that are more aligned with who you're becoming. Every single element of your current experience is in perfect quantum coordination with every other element, all of it responding to the deepest intentions of your soul and the evolutionary impulse of consciousness itself. But here's where it gets even more profound. You're not just passively experiencing this quantum entanglement. You're actively participating in it. Your consciousness, your attention, your emotional state, your beliefs about what's possible. All of this is constantly influencing the quantum field and determining which potentials collapse into your actual experience. This is why the ancient masters taught that external transformation must begin with internal transformation. They understood that you can't change the hologram by manipulating the projection. You have to change the consciousness that's creating the projection. When you shift your internal frequency from fear to trust, from resistance to surrender, from separation to unity, the entire quantum field responds by reorganizing itself around this new frequency. What seemed like fixed, unchangeable circumstances suddenly become fluid. Doors open that you didn't even know existed. People appear who are perfectly aligned with your new vibration. Opportunities emerge that are precisely calibrated to your expanded capacity. This isn't magical thinking. This is quantum mechanics applied to consciousness. This is how reality actually works when you understand that you're not separate from the field of intelligence that creates all realities. You are that field, expressing itself through the unique focal point of awareness that you call your individual identity. And right now, in this moment of apparent chaos and uncertainty, you have access to this creative power in ways that you've never had before. The disruption you're experiencing has created what I call quantum windows. Moments when the old patterns are destabilized enough that new possibilities can emerge much more rapidly than usual. These quantum windows are rare and precious. They occur during times of major life transitions, during periods of intense spiritual growth, during moments when the old identity is dissolving and the new identity hasn't yet crystallized. And they offer you the opportunity to make quantum leaps in your evolution, to transform not gradually over years, but dramatically in a matter of moments. But here's the key. You can only take advantage of these quantum windows if you understand what they are and how to work with them. If you approach them with the old mindset of trying to control outcomes and fix problems, you'll miss the opportunity entirely. If you collapse into victim consciousness and see the disruption as something happening to you, rather than something happening for you, the window closes. The quantum window only opens for consciousness that's ready to play at a higher level. Consciousness that's willing to trust the process even when it can't see the destination. Consciousness that's prepared to let go of what was in order to make space for what could be. Consciousness that recognizes itself as the creative source, rather than the passive recipient of circumstances. This is why your current circumstances feel so intense, so disorienting, so unlike anything you've experienced before. You're not just going through normal life changes. You're moving through a quantum window. You're being offered the opportunity to make a fundamental shift in your level of consciousness, your relationship to reality, your understanding of what's possible for your life. And here's what makes this even more extraordinary. This quantum window isn't just personal, it's collective. Humanity as a whole is moving through the largest quantum window in our species' history. The old paradigm of consciousness is collapsing, and a new paradigm is emerging. The individual transformation you're experiencing is part of this larger evolutionary process. This means that the skills you're developing right now, the ability to trust in uncertainty, to find stability within yourself rather than depending on external conditions, to see the intelligence in apparent chaos, to love yourself through the process of profound change. These aren't just personal skills. These are the skills that humanity needs to successfully navigate this evolutionary transition. You're not just healing yourself. You're developing capacities that will help heal the world. You're not just transforming your own life. You're pioneering ways of being that will become available to all of humanity. You're not just surviving your personal challenges. You're evolving consciousness itself. This is the ultimate context for understanding everything that's happening in your life right now. You're not experiencing random difficulties that you need to endure until they pass. You're experiencing the birth pangs of a new level of human consciousness, and you're both the mother and the child in this birth process. The intensity isn't punishment, it's preparation. The uncertainty isn't evidence of being lost. It's evidence of being found by forces so much greater than your individual personality that your old identity simply cannot comprehend what's happening. The disruption isn't chaos. It's the reorganization of matter and energy around a new center of gravity, a new level of coherence, a new frequency of love. And here's the most beautiful part. You don't have to figure out how to make this transformation happen. You don't have to strategize your way through the quantum window. You don't have to manage the process of your own evolution. All you have to do is surrender to the intelligence that's already orchestrating everything with a precision and benevolence that exceeds your wildest imagination. This intelligence knows exactly what you need and when you need it. It knows which experiences will open your heart, which challenges will strengthen your trust, which losses will reveal your true abundance, which uncertainties will guide you toward your deepest knowing. It has been preparing this moment for your entire lifetime, weaving together every experience you've ever had into a tapestry so intricate, so purposeful, so perfectly designed for your highest evolution that when you finally see the full pattern, you'll be overwhelmed with gratitude for every single thread, even the ones that seem dark or painful at the time. You are living inside a masterpiece of consciousness, a work of art so sophisticated that each brushstroke, each experience, each emotion, each challenge, each breakthrough contributes to a beauty that could never have emerged without the precise placement of every element. Trust this. Trust the artist. Trust the canvas. Trust the brush. Trust the colors, even when they seem too bright or too dark or too bold for your taste. Trust the process, especially when you can't see how the current brushstroke fits into the larger composition. You are safe in the hands of this intelligence. You are held by this love. You are guided by this wisdom. And everything, absolutely everything, happening in your life right now is serving your highest good, even when your human mind cannot possibly comprehend how. If this understanding is touching something in you, if these words are awakening a recognition that feels both new and ancient, then I invite you to subscribe not just to this channel, but to this frequency. Subscribe to the space where consciousness meets science, where ancient wisdom meets quantum possibility, where your individual transformation contributes to the healing and awakening of our entire world. Because what we're really talking about here isn't just your personal journey. It's the collective evolution of human consciousness itself. We are living through the most extraordinary time in human history. The old paradigms of fear, separation, and scarcity are collapsing not because something's gone wrong, but because humanity is ready for the next stage of its evolution. And you, yes, you, are part of that evolution. The challenges you're facing, the growth you're experiencing, the transformation you're undergoing, it's all contributing to a shift that's so much larger than your individual story. You are both the beneficiary of this collective awakening and a contributor to it. Every time you choose trust over fear, every time you align with love instead of resistance, every time you recognize the intelligence in apparent chaos, you're not just transforming your own life. You're adding to the frequency of awakening that's spreading across our planet. This is sacred work. This is not selfish work. This is the work of consciousness knowing itself more fully through your individual experience, and then expressing that knowing in ways that serve the highest good of all existence. So when you look at your life right now, at the disruption, at the uncertainty, at everything that feels challenging or unclear, try to see it through new eyes. Try to recognize the intelligence that's orchestrating this transformation. Try to feel the love that's supporting your evolution even when it doesn't look like love from your limited perspective. You are being held. You are being guided. You are being supported by a field of consciousness that is so vast, so intelligent, so benevolent, that it can coordinate the movements of galaxies and the timing of your next insight with the same perfect precision. The question isn't whether you're safe. You are always safe at the deepest level of your being. The question is whether you're willing to trust that safety even when your external circumstances don't reflect it yet. The question is whether you're ready to align with the intelligence that's reorganizing your reality instead of fighting it. This is not about passive resignation or spiritual bypassing. This is about active surrender, the recognition that your true power comes not from controlling circumstances, but from aligning with the consciousness that creates all circumstances. When you live from this understanding, when you embody this trust, when you allow yourself to be guided by the intelligence that knows you better than you know yourself, that's when miracles become your normal experience. That's when synchronicity becomes your everyday reality. That's when you discover that you've never been separate from the source of all creation. You are that source, expressing itself as you. Breathe into this knowing. Feel it settling into your cells, into your nervous system, into the very fabric of your being. You are safe. Reality is unfolding as planned. Everything happening right now is for a reason, and that reason is love. Now, as you step into this new understanding of your role as consciousness itself, there's something crucial about how you actually embody this awareness moment to moment. The observer effect we've been exploring today goes deeper than most people realize. Your very attention, your breath, your presence becomes the tool for collapsing infinite possibilities into your desired reality. This is why I want you to watch the observer breath. Breathe this way to become what you desire, where we'll dive into the specific breathing technique that activates your observer consciousness and aligns your entire nervous system with the frequency of what you're calling into existence. Not sentimental love, but intelligent love. Love that knows sometimes growth requires disruption. Love that understands sometimes breakthrough requires breakdown. Love that trusts your strength even when you don't trust it yourself. This love has been orchestrating your entire journey. Every joy, every challenge, every loss, every discovery. It has never abandoned you, never left you alone, never stopped believing in your capacity to transform and evolve and become the fullest expression of your divine potential. And right now, in this moment, it's inviting you to recognize that potential not as something you need to achieve in the future, but as something you can embody right here, right now, in the midst of whatever chaos you're experiencing. You don't have to wait for your circumstances to change to access your true power. You don't have to wait for clarity to trust the process. You don't have to wait for safety to know that you are safe. The invitation is here now, in this moment, to step into the recognition of who you really are, to align with the intelligence that's guiding your transformation, to trust the process even when you can't see where it's leading. This is not just information, this is initiation. This is not just understanding, this is embodiment. This is your opportunity to shift from being someone that life happens to into being someone that life happens through. Every disruption becomes guidance. Every challenge becomes an opportunity for expansion. Every moment of uncertainty becomes a doorway into deeper trust, greater wisdom, more profound love. This is what's possible when you stop fighting reality and start dancing with it. This is what's available when you recognize that you're not separate from the intelligence that governs all existence. You are that intelligence, experiencing itself as you. So as we come to the close of this exploration, I want to leave you with something practical that you can carry with you into every moment of apparent chaos, every experience of disruption, every time your mind tries to convince you that something's gone wrong. Remember this: you are not your circumstances. You are the consciousness that experiences circumstances. You are not your challenges. You are the awareness that witnesses challenges and transforms them into wisdom. You are not your story. You are the storyteller, and you have the power to tell a new story anytime you choose. The story I'm inviting you to tell is this: I am safe. I am guided. I am supported by an intelligence that loves me beyond my capacity to comprehend. Everything happening in my life right now is serving my highest evolution, even when I can't see how. I trust this process. I align with this intelligence. I surrender to this love. This is not a story you tell yourself to feel better. This is the recognition of what has always been true. This is you remembering your true identity as consciousness itself, expressing and experiencing itself through the beautiful, temporary, sacred form that is your human life. And here's the final invitation. Take a moment right now and drop one word in the comments that captures the energy or intention or transformation you're choosing as you step forward from this understanding. Just one word that serves as your energetic signature to the quantum field, your declaration of who you're becoming, your commitment to embodying this truth. Whether it's trust or surrender or love or expansion or courage or whatever word arises from your deepest knowing, let that word be your anchor, your reminder, your portal back to this understanding whenever the illusion of chaos tries to convince you that you're not safe. And if this exploration has touched you, if these words have awakened something that feels both ancient and new, then subscribe not just to stay connected, but to stay coherent with this frequency of understanding. Join this community of consciousness that recognizes the intelligence in apparent chaos, that trusts the process of transformation, that knows we are all part of something so much greater than our individual stories. Because the more of us who embody this truth, the more the world reflects that truth back to all of us. The more of us who trust the process of our own evolution, the easier it becomes for everyone to recognize that same process in their own lives. You are not alone in this transformation. You are part of a collective awakening that's happening across our entire planet. And your willingness to trust the process, to see the intelligence in apparent chaos, to recognize the love that's orchestrating your evolution, that's not just healing your life, it's healing the world. This is who you are. This is why you're here. This is what's happening right now beneath the surface of whatever disruption you're experiencing. Trust it. Embrace it. Let it transform you. You are safe. Reality is unfolding as planned. Everything happening right now is for a reason, and that reason is love.